With new episodes every week, join us as we peel the onion on the fascinating world of PKI and digital ID.
Hello and welcome to Root Causes, the PKI and Security podcast where a pair of industry veterans talk about all matters digital certificates and PKI. I'm Tim Callan, Chief Experience Officer at Sectigo, and I'm here with Jason Sirocco, Senior Fellow at Sectigo. So Jason, we have been tracking very big news. This in 2024 is the Entrust Distrust. And obviously Chrome led this off with the original distrust announcement, which more or less sealed the fate for Entrust TLS. Mozilla joined on, which is important because the more distrust events there are, the harder it is eventually to come back. Now we have seen motion from both Apple and Microsoft on this issue as well.
Interesting. So that's an update from, that's I think fairly recent, right, Tim?
Yes, very much so. So Apple came out with their 15.2 OS update, and included with that is a note stating that there is an Entrust Distrust as of November 15, 2024. Now,
That's in the past.
that's in the past. So it appears, if we understand the note correctly, that every certificate, probably starting on or perhaps starting the next day on the 16th, that's issued from these Entrust roots will be treated as distrusted in the Apple stack. Now, you might say, okay, well, who cares? Because at this point, it's already been distrusted by Chrome, and there's not going to be any certs anyway. Or if you are getting a cert, it's not going to work, and who cares? But what's special and interesting about the Apple distrust is Apple, unlike Chrome, is an email client as well. And so the Apple distrust is not only for TLS, but it's also for SMIME.
I was just about to say. Okay.
And it's also for VMC,
Got it.
verified mark
Wow.
certificates, and for timestamping.
So this is an expanded scope of the distrust.
It is an expanded scope of the distrust. So you and I speculated about this.
We did on this podcast.
Right. But there was no firm conclusion about what was going to happen. We did speculate that the distrust might extend to SMIME. I didn't actually expect it to extend to VMC. But this, based on the Apple notification, it appears that it has touched both of those other certificate types as well. Now we go back to the November 15 thing. Why does this matter? Well, what if I got an SMIME certificate from Entrust on November 16, believing that it would work, and seeing it work in production, right? And now it may be that suddenly, a month later, it stops working.
Let me get you straight, Tim, because you're not talking about somebody who procured a certificate on the 16th. What's the lifespan? A year. So right. You're talking about people who procured it
2 years for an SMIME. But
so somebody who procured it 2 years ago.
No. Let me clarify. It's the same as the other distrust, which is this is as of the issue date. So up through, if I purchased a cert and it was issued to me on November 14, 2024, it will work for its full lifespan. However, if I purchase something on November 16, 2024, according to this update, it won't work at all in the Apple stack.
Okay, then I take everything back I just said. So that's wild.
That's pretty wild because it would have been working, right? I could have bought it on November 16.
I hear you.
Put it in my email, opened it on my iPhone or my MacBook, gotten a proper signed email with no distrust warnings, no technical problems, and been of the belief that that was working. And then when the 15.2 release rolls around, apparently it will stop working.
The distrust of the publicly trusted TLS certificates.
Yeah.
Okay. Every one of the distrust statements that I've read,
Right.
If you bought something, the 2 days before the distrust event, your grandfather, that certificate has a lifespan that will be trusted for.
And that is true. That is true in the Chrome case.
Yes.
That is true in the Mozilla case.
Yes.
The dates are different, but the principle's true.
Understood.
And that's true in the Apple case.
Yes.
What's unusual, and so same for TLS and MIME and VMC. What's different, though, in the Apple case is that the date that was announced as the line of demarcation for the distrust was prior to the announcement. And what that does is that leaves this gap of approaching a month, nearly a month, where you could very well have obtained a cert. The cert was working. You knew it was working, confirmed it was working, believed it was working, and now, according to the statement, it appears that the cert will stop working.
Wow. Okay. So I'm trying to wrap my head around it.
Yeah.
You've now explained it
It's
perfectly.
very unusual. It's very unusual.
It's very much unlike the other distrust statements.
Correct.
Wow.
Yeah, and it is unusual. And for TLS, if it was just for TLS, I would say, well, who really cares, right? As of November 12, it wasn't working in Chrome anyway.
Right.
That means that for popular, for any public-facing use case, it's essentially useless. And presumably nobody's using these if they can even get them. And so who cares, right? That would be a who cares. The reason it's not a who cares is that up until this distrust event, the MIME and VMC certificates had been unaffected. And because they had been unaffected, presumably they were still in use, right?
Wow.
So that's an interesting one. I have a note in to Contacts of Mine at Apple trying to confirm that my understanding of this is correct, because I'm just going off what I'm reading in their notification. And so we may come back if this demands correction, we'll come back with an update episode to correct it. But that is what the notification says, and that's my interpretation of what I believe is going on here.
Thank you for that update.
Yeah. And then the other one connected to that is that there is a draft of a root program update from Microsoft. Now, it's in draft form. They're not done until they come out of draft, so they could change it. But the draft of the root program update in Microsoft also distrusts Entrust TLS. So assuming that goes through and becomes reality, then at that point, it will be a clean sweep. All 4 of the major root programs will have done the distrust.
Okay. The door finally closed.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. All right.
Wow.
So there you go.
Thank
There's
you,
our
Tim.
update. All right. Thank you, Jay. This has been Root Causes.